What would the church say? What would the church say about the way we continually living? Our of the world decisions, how we weaponize religion. What would they say if you told them you just needed an ear to listen? What would they say about today's Christian? What would the church say? What would the church say? Most importantly, what would Jesus say? Most importantly, what would Jesus?
Hey family, it's your girl Valika B with the Set Apart and Chosen platform. But what would the church say podcast? I am excited. We're gonna do the gospel music edition. We're gonna call it worship music edition. What is the music edition? Guess who my guest is on tonight? Let me drop the graphic right here. Y'all, if y'all do not know who J Todd is, please stop what you're doing right now. Hit pause and go to YouTube and let's figure out who this guy is because he's an amazing, amazing artist. So I am about to bring in my guest, Mr. J Todd. Sir.
What up, family?
I'm so excited to have you here with me on tonight.
I'm excited.
Listen, let me tell you, okay, before we start, I just want to tell you, let me tell you my personal story about you.
Sure.
I call it going through the wilderness. So I was going through, and I kept hearing your song at our church because one of our worship leaders sing it, and he does an amazing job singing it. So I was floating through YouTube, and your views are like crazy over there on YouTube as well. But I was floating through YouTube, and I came across Dwell. And if y'all do not know Dwell, please make sure you stop what you're doing, hit pause, go search Dwell, and I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have that song on repeat. Like I had it on repeat for I think almost 2 hours. And I think that was around Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving are one of those holidays if you're missing a loved one, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Yeah. And I'm like, what is my purpose, God? Like, what do you want me to do? I don't have some challenging years going by, but what do you really want me to do? So with Dwell, first, before I started talking about Dwell, I got excited. You are a national globally independent gospel worship artist. Which one are you?
You can say international.
Yeah, we're gonna say everything. He's everything. Hear me when I tell you, you are everything. Like seriously. And you are a worship leader, is that correct?
Yeah.
What church is you at right now?
Life Church in Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. There's something about them worship leaders when they get out here, they just do some things. And I am so proud of what you're doing. And I think, I know you already had the anointing in you, but it's just something as you serving in your local body every single Sunday. To me, it keep you grounded and humble, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am.
For the case. But let me get back. Dwell here. Let's talk about Dwell here. So Dwell here is an amazing worship piece. Like I said, it really have gotten me over some humps and bad areas of my life. So, and I know other people, because again, the views would tell you a whole story, and the comments inside of the YouTube and all the channels, TikTok and everywhere are so amazing. What made you decide to do Dwell here?
I tell this story. I feel like I tell the story often. However, it does not get old to me, or I try not to get familiar with this journey. But it came in a season where I had been, I felt like it was time for me to release some music. And I, approached people to write for me, and I was going to do the whole co-writing thing. And I never forget, it just didn't work out. And so I never forget, I was driving home from work one day, and literally I still have the voice note to this day. I began humming the song, actually not humming the song. I began singing the song as if it was already written. And so I tell people all the time, this is the Lord's song. It literally is a song that he gave me. He wrote it, he gave it to me. And so I began to sing the song as if it was already written. And long story short, I never forget, I was at my mentor's conference in Atlanta, Benita Jones. And I was scheduled to lead worship at a morning session, and
Mhm.
so it was I remember it was a Friday night, and she said, "Hey, I want you to lead worship tonight." Okay, you my mentor. Whatever you say to do, I'm gonna do it. We hadn't practiced the song, we hadn't done anything, and I literally just started singing the song, and the room caught it so bad, like it had gotten so bad. I never forget that night. Jason Nelson was there, Apostle Jason Nelson. He was
Yes.
asking, "Whose song is this?" And I said, "It's a song the Lord gave me." He said, "You need to put this out now." Um, Long story short, I had a worship night in Jersey, and I invited my mentor, and I
Mhm.
invited Chandler Moore, one of my close friends, and we, it was not a recording. It was not scheduled to be a recording at all. We did record for content. Also, the real story is we were having that night so we can get funds together so we can go into the studio and record the song. Um,
Right.
but when we went back to listen to the night, my brother was just like, "Hey, I do not think that this is something that you can do over. You need to put
Right.
this out as is." Now, anybody that has any musical background, to do a recording that is not on the grid, that you did not do pre-production for, that you did not do whatever it is you need to do for it to be a successful and finished product. We did not do any of that. there was no producer involved. The singers that were on the project, or the singers that sang that night, we got together that night. The band, we rehearsed like 2 times. It just, none of the things that you should do before a live recording was done that night. And so I put it out as is. I'll even go as far as saying, I remember we had gotten to the post-production stage, and that was the thing. People were saying, "Hey, it's not on the grid. It's not all the things that you were supposed to do. You didn't do them. So it might be in your best interest to just redo this song." And we started that process with a particular producer, and I'll never forget. He sent me a draft of the song, and I started to cry tears because it was not what God had given me. I literally started to bawl tears. I'll never forget the moment.
Wow.
And I called my mentor and I said, "Mentor, this is not what I heard. This is not what I heard from God." And so I literally went back to the team and I said, "Hey, I don't care if it's not up to par. I don't care if it is not as perfect as others would deem it or need it to be. This is what needs to happen." And honestly, because of that obedience to God and what He told me to do, I'm still seeing the fruit of that obedience till this day. 6 years later, literally this week, it came out March 20th of 2020. So literally this week, it's been 6 years since that song has come out, and the doors and the testimonies and the favor and the blessing and the revelation that God has used that song to bring is beyond my wildest dreams. There was even a season where it started to feel commercial, because when I
Mm.
would go places, everybody would just like, "Yeah, we just need you to sing. I don't care what you do." Um, Anybody that knows me knows I'm a worship leader. I'm going to flow with the Spirit of God. Um,
Right.
but He kept bringing me back to that song because there were still places in my life I had not allowed Him to dwell. There were still
Wow.
rooms in my life I had not surrendered to Him. And so there were times I'd be out on the road and on stage breaking down, singing this song, not because I was performing it, but because I was getting a new revelation of those words 4, 5, and 6 years later. So Dwell's my baby. It's the Lord's song, and it's super special to me. So yeah.
You just said something about surrendering. What's the importance of surrendering to you?
Ooh, the importance of surrendering. I feel like the important thing to know about surrendering is that it never ends. The
Mhm.
moment you feel like you have gotten to an arrival point in surrendering is the moment you need to keep on surrendering.
Mhm.
Um, it never ends. And so I just find myself, we know that we experience brand new mercies from God every single day. And in
Mhm.
likeness, there's a surrender that has to happen every day. Um,
Right.
and so I kind of just gauge my days on that, or my life on that. Have I surrendered today? Because if I haven't surrendered anything, then there's
Right.
still some work I need to do. So yeah.
Right. Right. So what's your personal time with God look like?
My personal time with God, it has evolved in a way that I guess I wasn't necessarily expecting.
Mhm.
Growing up, I always used to think that personal time with God means by the time I'm done, I need to have had sweated out my clothes, and I need to be hoarse because I done screamed and tarried and gone on. But as I get older, there are some times where the Lord is challenging me to sit
Mm-hmm.
and listen.
Mm-hmm.
There are some times the Lord is challenging me to study His Word and get a revelation or what He's saying through a word. And so, even in that, there's a level of surrenderance in seeking God. It's not
Mm-hmm.
always this copy and paste scenario, but He could be requiring something different every day. And so, there's been times, even as of late, it's been sitting still. It's been putting on a worship pad and sitting still. Sometimes I can't even listen to a worship song with words at a certain point in
Mm-hmm.
my prayer time or my time with God. I just need to just like hear Him. So yeah, that's been the pattern as of late.
So to stay into true ministry, because your song did blow up.
Yes, ma'am.
And like I said, a lot of churches, ministries, worship leaders are singing it every day. Well, every Sunday, I'm sorry. How
Mhm.
do you keep your focus on true ministering instead of performance space?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I feel like the Lord is bringing that back to surface even in this season. So
Mm,
some practical things that I do. I serve at an amazing church here, the Life
mhm,
Church RVA with Pastor
mhm,
Vaughn and Ashley Gordon, and so some
mhm.
practical things. I will. When service is over, I'm not backstage. I'm in the lobby. I am shaking hands and asking people how their week has been and good to see you and making sure I'm a part of life groups and making sure I'm a part of events that worship is not a part of, so that I'm not just seen as this celebrity or singer, but I'm a part of my church. That's also another thing that I've been doing. Like, my church is not my job. That is my church.
Okay,
My
that's what's up.
my pastors are not my boss. Those are my pastors.
Right,
And so, when I'm on the road, they know where I'm at.
right.
They are praying for me. They are covering me. And I'm just making sure that, I'm connected to my local assembly. I'm connected to those that
Yeah.
serve on the worship team with me. What's going on in your life? Like, how can I show up? How can I pray for you? How can I be there? And I think that is the thing that keeps me focused and grounded, because it allows me to go out on the road and realize that some people need to be loved and cared for outside of the song that they know you for. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. So you carry a strong emphasis on holiness.
Hmm.
What does holiness mean to you?
Yeah.
Keep it holy.
What does holiness mean to me at 34? I'm gonna be very honest with you. It does not mean to me now what it meant to me before. Like, can we be real? Can we? All right.
Please be real.
Yeah, I literally used to send so many people to hell in my mind because of what I thought holiness was and was not. I'm being very honest. I used to
Yes.
see a lot of people. I mean, oh, you're going straight. Yeah, I mean, you are. You know what I'm saying? But I've gotten to the place in my life where I realize that holiness is the thing that I continue to strive for. It is a
Mhm,
standard and level that I continue to strive for. And in my striving there, I am still human. In my
mhm.
striving, I do not get everything right. Um,
Right.
but holiness for me is a continual pursuit. Holiness for me is looking at God and looking at His ways and saying, that is the way that I should choose. And even on the days that it is hard for me to choose it, my focus does not shift from, you know what, that's not the way out. That is the way I should choose. This is the
Mhm,
step that I want to live up to. And there's a
mhm,
continual pursuit, there's a continual surrender, there's a
mhm.
continual God dwell here. And that is holiness for me. So hopefully I answered
No, you did. So this is a trick. No, this is tricky because church is church. Church is good. Church is good. But you
that.
have had some amazing opportunities, I'm for sure. How
Yeah.
do you discern opportunities to make sure they're godly opportunities, or is this like opportunistic opportunities?
Yeah. So honestly, a lot of things are more practical for me now, more than they
Okay.
are spiritual. Hopefully that doesn't sound bad. So what I mean by that is like I'm gonna call my pastor and
Good.
hey man, what do you think about this? How should I approach this?
Yeah.
Thankfully, he was a worship leader and an artist at one time
Okay.
too, and so it's super dope that he understands and sees things from my perspective, and my position. So I'll call him and get wise counsel. I'll call him and
Good.
get instruction, and thankfully, he will give me practical instructions, but he also points me back to God. Um, and so that's been my journey as of late, even in the last year, going into a year and a half, is literally been seeking wise counsel,
It's
but also
good.
spending time with God. You know, you have that discernment or peace or
Mhm.
unrest about a thing,
Mhm.
and so that is there. That's there as well. And then I'm married, and so there are some things that I need to make sure is this wise for me to go? Is this wise
Right. No.
to leave my home? Is it wise for me to leave my wife? And so yeah, I'm learning. I will
Mhm.
never. I don't ever want it to come across as if I know it all. I don't, because I'm still learning. And
Yeah.
that'll all be my story and testimony. I'm learning.
And for any young artists that are coming up right now, you just touched it, but kind of jump in a little more the importance of having covering.
Yeah. I say this time and time again, and sometimes I've been challenged on it. You need a pastor.
You do.
You
Hmm.
you you need a pastor. You need a covering. It's hard out here in these. It's hard out here in these church industry, music streets. Um,
Yeah.
and if you do not have, I'll say this: if you do not have a pastor or a mentor or a voice in your life that will center you or bring an alignment to you, you will give that position and that opportunity to somebody.
Right.
Somebody's gonna have that opportunity. Somebody's voice will be the voice you align with, and voice that will lead you. And if
Mhm.
you're not careful of who that voice is, you can make some decisions that will bring in a world of mess. And I'm just thankful that I have a pastor, um, that invest in who I am as an artist, as a husband, as a
Mhm.
son, all of the things. Um, Sometimes there's some things he says that I don't necessarily understand at the time, but
Yeah.
I trust the God inside of him more than I
Yeah.
trust him, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it's just super important. It should not be, I should say, it should not be control, but it should be accountability. And I think sometimes in my generation we see accountability as control. But a wise person once told me it's not really the air that keeps a kite flying. It's the boundary that holds it back. The weight that holds it back is what keeps the kite flying. And sometimes we are afraid of that boundary. We're afraid of that weight because we think it's holding us back, but it's really allowing us to fly. So
And it's so important. You mentioned that you had a wife. It's so important to have that support system at home, especially when you're having that bad time coming from on the road, or given a great worship set. And it's almost like you can feel the burdens of people inside of the sanctuary at times. But,
absolutely.
that support system at home, wifey, she's able to say, okay, what do you need from me? I got you, or pray for you in that particular moment. So the importance to make sure that, God is first, and we're going to always keep the spouse second. So what's the most important of all of that to you?
Super important. Man, so we are going into 5 years. We'll be 5 years in December
Good.
of
That's
this
good.
year. And we are growing as well.
Mhm.
Because it's one thing for her to marry somebody she goes to church with, and then there's another
Yeah.
thing for her to marry a person in ministry. Um,
Mhm.
and so I've had to learn a lot of things. I've had to learn that she's not just my wife, but she's a wife that hears from God. And so
Mhm.
there are some things that she will see, discern, and pick up, um, that I just have to adhere to, that I just have to trust. I'm 5 years older than her,
Okay.
and I always like to say, well, I done lived a lot of life, so you don't you don't know more than me. I done lived a lot of life. But when you have the Holy Spirit inside of you,
Mhm.
age is not a factor. If you hear
Yes.
God, if He shows you something, You just have to trust that. So I've literally had to step back in instances and allow the Holy Spirit to use her to protect me or to cover me from certain things. You know, a lot of people, we know that the husband is the covering, but there's some things she has covered me from.
That's
There's
good.
protected me from. Also, my home is there. I'll say this: there is no more peaceful place. There's no hotel. There's no resort. There's no trip or anything that is more peaceful than walking into my home. Because my wife, she makes this a safe space for me.
That's
And
good.
I'm super thankful for that. So yeah, it's super important. Not always pretty, not always perfect. We're
Absolutely.
we're growing, and I will
Mm.
always use that. I think if you run into a person that doesn't show you that they're still growing, you ought to be afraid, I would say.
Right. Exactly. So let me ask you this. You have a new project that came out in December.
Yes, ma'am.
And with that particular project, you also were able to, and it's called Wordy Christmas EP, but you're also able to carry that EP on over, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to make sure you still able to hear me because my light went out right there.
I
All
can
right,
hear
so you're able to carry that EP Wordy. What made you come up with that decision to be able to carry that past Christmas?
Oh, so honestly, it stemmed from this as a kid. There's a song, "Oh Come Let Us Adore." Oh come, we would always hear that during Christmas. But even as a kid, I would want to sing that all year long. Like I love worship in the presence of God so much. Like that was just a song I used to sing all year long. I don't care if I heard it in a mall or something. I'd be like, my God, like we can go in right now. Like that's just something I would carry all year long. And so for me, I wanted that same effect. I wanted a project that really embodied the ability and opportunity to worship all year long. I know that we talk about the birth of Jesus Christ in December, but his birth is important all year long. There's never a moment where it's not important, just like the resurrection. There's never a moment where it's not important, even though we celebrate it on Easter Sunday. And so that's just something that I wanted to carry all year long. Um, and even in that season, Christmas time can be shaky for some people, and I always feel like the presence of God is the most consistent thing. It is a thing that just doesn't shake. People move, people change, seasons change, but I always say that the most consistent thing is the presence of God, and so why not have that in that season as well as all year long?
Right. Let's talk about Wordy. That's a great worship song.
Yes, man. Thank you.
So, how did you come up with the concept? I know the Christmas part, but how about the worship of Wordy?
Yeah, so very practical in terms of I was actually walking out of a print shop. It was July of last year. So walking out
Mhm.
of the print shop, and I literally heard the melody as I walked out of the print shop. To the only one worthy, you're the only one worthy. I grabbed my phone, still have the voice note to this day. And my wife was in the car, and I said, "Babe, I think this could be something like." And so I did like a little mini tour that summer, and at the end of each show, we would end with that chant. It was literally just a chant at that point. Um, and so I remember, long story short, we had gotten to like September, October, and I was talking to my brother who produced Worthy, and I was like, "Hey, I got this chant. We probably need to write to it, but I have this chant." And honestly, I got with Chris House, who was an amazing writer,
Okay.
Kentrell Reagan, who also added to that song. And honestly, it is doing. I didn't expect it to be this. I'll be very honest. When I put Dwell out in 2020, I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna be a one hit wonder. This is this is all this will be. And so for Worthy to be doing what it is doing, and it's not even a year yet, is really just a testament of obeying God. That'll always be my testimony. Like, Jay, how
Yeah.
did you? Da, 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 da. I just obeyed God. I heard this voice note. I started singing it. We added to it. I recorded it and put it out. So just a testament of obeying God.
Awesome, awesome. We're getting ready to wrap this particular interview, but I want to ask you, um, what do you expect, or where do you want to go, or in the process of working on
Mhm.
this year going into 2027?
My goal for this year, and I've been sharing with those that are closest to me. Um, I do know that the Lord has graced me to be in rooms. I feel like I work in rooms, and so that won't stop. The Lord will. Thanks be to God, He's allowed me to travel nationally, internationally. I'm super thankful for that. But there are some people that I may not physically ever get to. And I feel like the Lord is kind of giving me strategy and connecting me with people that will help
Mm,
me help my reach in terms of my ministry. And so you'll hear more. I'm praying that you hear my music more on social media. I'm praying that you hear my music on the radio. I'm praying that you hear more of my music in churches and in college campuses and things of that nature, places that I may not ever physically get to. But the Lord will allow me to be connected with people that will help me establish that reach. When I put Dwell out in 2020, the prayer I had before literally submitting it to DistroKid, I said, Lord, I really want to have the anointing of Andre Crouch. Andre Crouch has written songs that some of us don't even know he wrote.
right.
Songs have gone far, gone places he's never been. He's no longer here, and his songs are still going places. And that was the prayer that I had with Dwell, and I feel like it'll continue to be that. I may not ever get to go to a particular country, but I pray that the songs and my ministry and my sound does. So, yeah, that's my prayer.
Oh, I have faith that you're gonna be everywhere.
Thank you so much.
I have faith. Let everybody know how they can follow you really quick before we wrap.
Yes. So for all information, you can go to jtoddofficial.net, or you can follow me. We still do websites, people of God. You can go to my website, or you can follow me on Instagram at jtoddofficial, TikTok the same, Facebook is jtodd. And I would love to connect with you guys and just keep me in prayer as I continue on this journey. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Stay on with me while we wrap. Thank you so much. Thank your
Yes.
team for allowing you to come out to interview with me, Set Apart and Chosen, the Valika B Project. What would the church say is this podcast? And I can't wait to hear what's next for you. So please, guys, make sure if you don't do anything else, he can really, really, really bless you. If you haven't heard of J Todd, please look him up. Go to YouTube, any streaming platforms, and make sure you support this man of God. He really have helped me through some tough times with his ministry. So I do thank you for that.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Stand with me, stand by with me. Hold on. God bless everyone. Until next time.
Well, that concludes this episode of What Would the Church Say? With your host, Valika B. Until next time, be blessed.